Let's start by looking at all the parts that come together to make your SAM ROV. Do a quick survey to make sure you have everything. The first thing we're going to do is make the chassis, and that's made up of these yellow chloroplast pieces, and we're going to glue them together, and we're also going to reinforce them with some wooden skewers. To make everything stick well, we are going to roughen up basically any areas between these black lines, which is where we're going to stick stuff. One piece has got a dotted pair of black lines. That means we're going to actually rough up on the back because that's where the stick's going to go. Once everything's roughed up, we're going to first start with sticking on some wooden skewers. There's 6 skewers in your kit. There's 2 long ones and 4 short ones, so we're going to get the short ones out first. These should line up exactly with the length of your plastic. Once we start gluing these, the point that I always like to make is we like to use lots of glue. So make sure you've got a good glue stick in there, make sure the glue gun is up to temperature nicely, and then put lots of glue down quickly, and then align the sticks and hold them down for a little while they cool down and stick firmly. You'll notice that the technique here is apply lots of glue, press them down, and move on. Remember also that the final piece here, you'll see I'm actually gluing the stick onto the reverse side, and you know this because the front side has got dotted lines on it. Once this step is complete, we are going to arrange the pieces and make sure we recognize each piece because we're going to assemble the frame body as a whole. When we start assembling, we want to remember 2 things. First thing is always make sure the letters match. The matching A, B, C, D letters should face each other. And secondly, when we are letting the glue cool down and set, we want to keep everything square. So the first step is we're going to go A to A. So we notice the letters, when they're placed together, will face each other and match. That's how you know you've got it perfectly right. And it's always helpful to have someone double check that for you. We are going to glue this piece, and then once we've glued it, we're going to use one of the other square pieces to hold it in place. Like to glue it, give it a bit of a squeeze, and then grab another piece and hold it in place. We're going to do that for both of the cross pieces. Spend as much time as you like, or you need here, because it's really important to get that square. Once you've done the first piece and it can stand up by itself, you can move on to the second piece. Once again, find a nice way to hold that square so that it doesn't fall over while it's cooling. It will take a little while for these joints to cool and make sure that they can stand upright by themselves. The next step is to attach it to the other side of the frame, and I like to do that by setting the single piece down on the table, gluing it, and then placing the other piece on top like I'm showing here. Again, lots of glue, put it down quickly so it stays hot until you get the second piece on. Once you've attached both sides, hold it there for a little while, and once it's cooled down a little bit, then stand it up. This way you can make sure that it's square, both sides are sitting on the ground, and it's going to be nice and easy to fly. Once that's cooled down enough that it's self-standing, we're done and we're ready to move on to the next stage. The next step is all about waterproofing. The ROV uses these 3 thrusters where the propeller spins is waterproof, but where the wires come out is not. So what we're going to do is we're going to squirt in hot glue onto either side of the wires. Hold the wires over, squirt some glue in, flip the wires back, and glue some more. And then if you feel like it, you can even put some more around the end there. Once you've done that, stand them up so the glue doesn't come out, and do the rest of them. There's no such thing as too much glue here. The only thing you want to make sure is that you do not get any glue on the actual propeller and the part that spins. It may not be obvious, but I'm actually squeezing this glue in quite hard. Put the tip into the hole, squeeze it in, flip the wire over, and squeeze it again. Once these are done, then we're going to proceed to waterproof some of the other electrical parts. mainly the connectors where things plug together. We're going to pull out 2 little containers of super lube. This is the dielectric goop, very technical name, and we're going to smear this over all of the available conductors. So this is going to be the wire ends from the wires coming out of the motors and on the tether termination, which is the place where you plug the tether into your ROV. There's a little cap on. We're putting the lube on anything that's shiny, connectors, pins, plugs, anything you can see that's shiny. We're going to do that too, including the connectors from the actual motors. You'll see we're squeezing it inside here, wrapping it all around. Basically, anything that is metal that can get wet, we're going to put the super lube on. Once everything's smothered with super lube, we'll then put them aside and get ready for the next step where we're actually attaching the motors to the chassis. The next step is mounting the 3 thrusters. There's a left and a right and a vertical thruster. And from the way you can see these positions are dotted, we can tell that the 2 of them are going to go underneath that crossbeam, just like this. There'll be one on each side, and the propeller will stick out the back, and so it doesn't hit anything. So I'm going to turn the ROV chassis over to make it easy to glue. So once again, pay attention, figure out ahead of time where you want this to go, understand where the glue is going to be, and then we can get the glue gun, and we're going to put 2 strips of glue, one that glues it to each of the pieces of plastic, one on the bottom and one on the side. And again, we're going to use plenty of glue here. And once we've got the glue on here, we're going to quickly put it in place, and it's going to initially cool down pretty fast. So we want to get it in. We're going to tilt the little piece where the wire's coming out down so that it touches the crossbeam. See, I'm holding this in place here now. It's touching the back, and I'm just going to let this sit for a few moments, noticing how far out the propeller is because we're going to want to make the one on the other side match. Once this is cooled down, we're going to switch to the other side and do the same, making sure that in both cases, the small rod where the wire is coming out is in place. We can add a couple little extra tacks of glue on the side and perhaps where it's holding the wire down, just to make sure this sits in place. This actually adds to the structural strength of the ROV in general, so a little bit of extra glue here is worth it, but make sure you give enough time to set up. Once one side is done, then we'll just repeat the process on the other side, making sure that it's aligned, it's sticking out the same distance, gets glue on both sides, push the center shaft down so that it touches, and then reinforce it. Next, we'll move on to the vertical thruster. So to do that, we'll flip the robot back up the other way around, and we will notice on the lower crossbeam, there's this shape that shows where that main rod goes that's part of the thruster. And we're going to put lots of glue there. And once it's in place, the important thing is to make sure that it's lined up straight, not pointing sideways, and that it's straight up and down, not leaning sideways. And that will guarantee that when the robot flies, it flies straight up and down and doesn't steer off in funny directions. Hold that until it's set up, and then you can add some more glue. The final part of our frame structure are the cross bracings. And this is where we use the 2 longer skewers, and we're going to put it to make triangles to hold the frame together. The way this works is you put the pointed piece at the bottom and give it a good push, and it will pop into the plastic. And you want to do this close to the back, and then you do the other side, poke it in either the bottom or the side so that the skewers stay there. This is the approximate positioning. And then we're going to get a zip tie and tie the 2 together in the center. And by doing that, it'll make it much easier now to glue it all together. So put the zip tie on, and essentially zip it up tight and push it down as far as you can. And that will then hold the pieces against the sidewall at the top. I'm actually going to push the tail of that zip tie down and glue that in place just for added strength. But now that it's in there and everything's touching, now you can go through and glue everything with a nice solid layer of glue all the way around, including the zip tie. Once that's done, we can essentially say we're finished with the frame structure. You can add any more glue if you think you missed some areas. But essentially now we're ready to move on and complete the electrical assembly. We're now going to complete the electrical assembly by attaching the tether termination and plugging the motors in. Tether, it says board below. The tether termination is going to stick underneath that piece of plastic there. And you'll see on the tether termination, it's underneath, it says the words inside and out. The out is going to point to the outside, and the inside is going to point to the inside. This is to make sure that it doesn't get glued on the wrong way around. There will be a cable plugged into this, and that'll plug into the connector, so the whole of the connector is also facing out. You can put glue on this connector, or you can put glue on the plastic and then push the connector on there, either way. And we've got lots of glue on here because this is going to be where the tether is attaching. So if you pull on the cable, you don't want it to pop off the robot and it's pushed up. You're going to want to make sure it's centered and pointing straight out. So that way the cable will be coming straight out the back, and so it won't tend to drag the ROV off one way or the other. Flip it over here and put a little bit more glue on it. Tack it on quite hard and then give it plenty of time to dry before we move on. The next step is the trickiest. So we need to make sure we get it right. And it involves making sure we get the right 3 connectors in the right 3 places. On the tether termination on the back, you'll see there's 3 words. You can't see them here, but if you have a look closely on the real one, you'll see it says vert, right, and left. Vert for vertical, right for the right motor, and left for the left motor. If you can't figure out which motor is which, have a look at what's written on the sides that they're on. This motor that I'm pointing at is the right motor, and if you trace the wire that comes out of it, you can see that at the plug there's a black and a red wire. So on the little circuit board, you want to plug it into where it says right, and you also want to plug the red wire where it says the word red. All the wires should look the same, so when you get the wire from the other motor, that should be the left motor, and you plug it in with the red wire on the correct side, right where it says left. And then finally, the vertical motor will plug in on the other side, and you'll see that the wires are red, black, red, black, red, black all the way across. So once they're in there, we are going to zip tie them down so that they're neat. We're going to organize these wires so that they can't unplug themselves and so that they can't get caught in the propellers. So just sort of fold them away, put some zip ties on, find a pair of snips or scissors and trim off the extra zip tie material. Check out, make sure it's all looks good, and then we're ready to move on. Now we're going to add the magnet. This acts as ballast to keep the bottom of the ROV heavy and also as a tool to pick up things like bingo chips on the bottom. Liberal application of glue, stick it underneath. I've got this flipped upside down right now. Make sure it's centered and pointing straight out, and you can always add a little bit of extra hot glue to make sure it stays in place. The final step is adding flotation. We're going to initially cut 2 lengths, the length of the robot, and we're going to stick these on the outside. A thin layer of glue is all it's going to take to hold these in place. The reason for the flotation is twofold. First, it balances out the weight of the other components. They pull down, the flotation pulls up. That also helps with stability. It stops the ROV from rocking side to side. Just a thin layer of glue, hold it in place, and then repeat for the other side. Once we've done both sides up above, then we'll add a couple of extra inner sections. These will give us more flotation than we need, but the goal is to have some extra so then we can trim it off and balance it in the water. We want to balance them so that the robot is neutral, doesn't float or sink. Once we put these in, then we'll just do a little bit of fine tuning, make it a little bit more streamlined by cutting the fronts and the backs at 45 degrees so that things move smoothly through the water. So now let's look at how we control the ROV. We're going to use this custom designed control box for Sam, and it has a bunch of buttons that we'll get to in a little bit. First, this is the order that I recommend you hook things up. First of all, take your tether and attach it to the control box. It'll plug in, it should snap in. To disconnect it, you need to squeeze it to pull it out. Then we're going to get the ROV and take the other end and plug it into the tether termination. You'll notice it also goes in only one way and it will snap in place. That will hold it firm. You probably want to unwind these wires, but I'm just going to keep them wound up on the table here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the battery, the power, and that's a 12-volt battery. You should have a charger, and you have this power cable, and you can hook this up, paying attention to the red to red and black to black. The red is the positive, black is the negative. Always have someone that double check that for you. So we're getting ready to plug in the controller, but we're going to wait for just a second here, freeze frame it. It's important to do this step last because when you plug in the power to the controller, it will test the motors by sending a different sound to each one of them. It'll beep one of them once, then the next twice, the next 3 times. So you get a very characteristic sound. So listen while you see this plugged in, and I'll do it a couple of times here. This is the way we test that everything is wired up correctly and there are no issues. And again. Okay, so now we know that everything is good there. 1, 2, 3. So then finally, to fly our ROV, you just need to learn what the buttons do. And you can test this by feeling the air. We're going to go down, which is going to push the air up on the vertical thruster. So if you put your hand above it, you should be able to feel it when we push the button. This one here. You can feel the air. If I go hit the up button, it won't do it because it'll be pushing the air down. Likewise, if I push the forward button, they'll both propellers will push air out the back. Backwards will work the other way. And left and right will reverse one motor and make the other one go forward. And there you have it, fully functional ROV. Time to put it in the water.